In a development shaking the foundations of Japan's globally beloved pop culture ecosystem, major credit card companies have begun tightening regulations on payments for certain, sensitive, content, particularly affecting adult-rated and niche Japanese media. What was once a niche concern among doujin creators and visual novel publishers is now emerging as a global financial chokehold on the otaku industry, a phenomenon some critics call financial censorship. This growing wave of control is no longer limited to local Japanese markets. As platforms like Steam, the world's largest PC game distribution network, follow suit and restrict payment support for controversial content, artists, developers, and even fans are sounding the alarm. The otaku economy may be entering a dangerous phase of forced self-sanitization. Downward trend. A quiet crackdown goes global. In early 2025, several Japan-based adult game developers and visual novel publishers reported a disturbing trend. Recurring transactions from fans, especially those overseas, were being declined without explanation. Initially thought to be isolated incidents, a deeper investigation revealed that major credit card networks were flagging transactions linked to games that featured sexual content, controversial themes, or LGBTQ+ narratives, regardless of their legality. Soon after, Steam began quietly removing or refusing to list titles that had previously passed content guidelines. Developers received vague notices about payment processing issues, with no clear directives on how to comply. Behind the scenes, sources within the Japanese doujin community report that credit card companies have blacklisted entire genres of content, especially those labeled 18+, or eroge, regardless of age verification systems in place. It's not about legality anymore, says Kenta Morimoto, CEO of a mid-tier Japanese visual novel company. It's about ideology and optics. If they don't like your content, even if it's legal, they shut off your payment gateway. We call it modern-day censorship by proxy. Credit card. What's driving this shift? While credit card companies have long monitored high-risk industries to avoid fraud and reputational damage, their recent interventions appear influenced by pressure from international watchdogs, advocacy groups, and ESG environmental, social, governance policies adopted by major financial institutions. This move mirrors similar restrictions placed on pornography sites, sex workers, and certain crypto platforms in the West. Governments aren't banning these games, but Visa and MasterCard are essentially doing the banning for them, says Mari Koizumi, a Tokyo-based lawyer specializing in digital content law. There's no transparency, no appeals process, and no accountability. For creators, it's death by 1,000 declined payments. In the case of Steam, which processes most of its payments through international networks, avoiding compliance with global financial norms is risky business. In 2024, Steam quietly delisted dozens of Japanese titles with no mainstream controversy surrounding them, some of which had been rated safe for teens by Japanese standards. Japan. The cultural clash. Japan's otaku culture, encompassing everything from anime and manga to games and cosplay, thrives on diversity, experimentation, and freedom of expression. But many of the themes explored in Japanese media, eroticism, taboo relationships, or deep psychological narratives, do not align neatly with Western moral expectations. This cultural disconnect is now creating friction in global distribution channels. What Japan considers part of artistic storytelling is often seen as problematic by US-based financial entities. As a result, Japanese creators must increasingly sanitize their content to comply with foreign moral codes, ironically undermining the very uniqueness that makes their work internationally appealing. The Western market wants our content, but only if it's rebranded and cleaned up, says indie artist Mizuki Rina, who recently had her doujin game removed from an English-language store. But if I remove the uncomfortable parts, then it's no longer my work. It's just another global product. Brain, financial censorship, a new kind of soft power. The phenomenon now being called financial censorship refers to the strategic denial of payment infrastructure to creators based on opaque or ideological reasons. While no laws are broken, creators are unable to sell their work or receive income, effectively forcing them to conform or vanish. It's terrifying, says Jun Nakamoto, founder of a Tokyo-based doujinshi convention. Unlike government censorship, you can't challenge this in court. It's a black box controlled by corporate ethics panels somewhere far away. While most major Japanese credit card companies like JCB and Rakuten remain lenient, their dependence on foreign processing networks for international transactions limits their power. Without Visa or MasterCard approval, Selling overseas becomes near impossible for small creators, especially those without access to alternative systems like cryptocurrency or domestic-only payment methods. Video game: The Steam Dilemma. Steam's role in this drama cannot be overstated. With over 132 million monthly active users, it serves as the primary distribution hub for Japanese indie developers and visual novel creators looking to tap into Western markets. But its increasing reliance on U.S. legal frameworks has led to increased moderation pressure, especially regarding games tagged mature. In late June 2025, the highly anticipated Otome game, Velvet Requiem, was pulled from Steam's upcoming releases list without explanation. The game, despite being rated for 17+ audiences in Japan, included themes of mental illness and BDSM, content well within artistic boundaries but apparently outside Steam's acceptable content matrix. This isn't about preventing harm. It's about pleasing payment processors, says Reina Suzuki, the game's director. They won't tell you what's wrong. They just block your monetization and disappear. Light bulb searching for alternatives. Faced with growing uncertainty, creators are now experimenting with decentralized platforms and new monetization models. Several Japanese indie publishers have launched storefronts that accept crypto payments, or use domestic-only payment gateways such as Konbini convenience store codes or PayPay for Japan-based buyers. But international fans are largely left out. Not everyone is comfortable using Bitcoin or navigating Japanese-only websites. Some creators are turning to Patreon-like platforms such as Fansha and Pics of Fanbox, but even these services depend on payment processors vulnerable to international pressure. It's like building a house on sand, says Koizumi. At any moment, your income stream can collapse. Classical building government's deafening silence. Despite the potential economic damage to a billion-dollar cultural export industry, Japanese authorities have remained largely silent. Unlike China, which strictly controls what financial networks can and can't do, Japan has adopted a laissez-faire approach, allowing external forces to dictate the rules of global engagement. This is a sovereignty issue, argues Liberal Democratic Party lawmaker Akira Yamanaka, one of the few politicians to address the issue in the Diet. We're letting foreign corporations determine which parts of Japanese culture are acceptable to sell. That's not just censorship, it's an economic handicap. Yamanaka has proposed a bill urging Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry to establish guidelines and support systems for domestic digital content exports, including a state-backed payment gateway insulated from international pressure. But with limited political momentum, the proposal remains stalled. Megaphone fan backlash and the fight for expression. Fans and advocacy groups have begun pushing back, launching campaigns demanding transparency from Steam and credit card companies. Hashtags like #SaveOtakuContent and #FreedomToBuy have trended on X, formerly Twitter, with petitions garnering hundreds of thousands of signatures. This is not just about adult games, says Luna Reyes, an American fan and organizer of the campaign. It's about creative freedom. If they can silence otaku content today, who knows what's next? Compass the road ahead. The clash between financial institutions and cultural expression is shaping up to be one of the defining digital rights battles of the decade. For Japan's otaku industry, an engine of innovation, imagination, and international influence, the outcome could reshape not just how it does business, but how its stories are told, consumed, and remembered. Until then, creators walk a financial tightrope, forced to navigate a world where banks and payment processors wield more power over storytelling than governments or censors ever did.